Welcome everyone to my chess stream here on Twitch and lichess. We're playing blitz and classical chess. Anything between 5+3 and 8+3 casual challenges. That means unrated games. You can start with the base time of 5 to 8 minutes, and I'll play any increment 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, up until 7+5 and 8+3. 8+3 is the longest time control I'm going to play because these games tend to last as long as literally 20 minutes in some cases. So if you'd like to challenge me, feel free to do so on lichess. My handle is Sparkle Horse, named after the band, the now deceased Mark Linkous. We have our account on Twitch, which is Slaggy. We're just opening the stream now. Guys, I want to make a call to everyone to support net neutrality, because that's something that today is celebrating. So stop net neutrality rules from being repealed. I think it's a really good cause. I think everyone should support it who enjoys things like playing free chess on lichess.org. I'm International Master William Paschall. Guys, also help support my stream by supporting me, and if you can send me a PayPal donation. We haven't had much financial support lately from donations, and so far we haven't really got off the ground with sponsorship as far as what am I trying to say? As far as subscribers on the stream. We just started to take subscriptions for the account here, for our Twitch account. So if you can subscribe or support us via PayPal, you can do that on our Twitch page or also on our YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube, where I upload all the streams as well as other good stuff. So we're going to be playing 5+3. We've got the announcements out of the way. Support net neutrality and help sponsor the stream, please. We're going to be playing 5+3 to 8+3. Let's get started. We've got 4 challengers. Guys, before we start, last thing I want to mention, if everything's okay, we have audio, viewership. I've got challenges from Bob Sakamenko, Aldisto. Good to see you, Aldisto. And he's a regular when we're streaming from our European time. Usually I'm streaming European time 5 days a week, but we're kind of on vacation here in the US for July and August, so I'm just doing 3 streams a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, at the normal time of 4 p.m. Eastern time, and simul's on Sundays at 5. Clash Kid says, oh, you do have a sub button, that's cool. Yeah, we just got the capability for subscriptions. We're going to work on that in the coming months, but I haven't had much time since I moved here to the US to really do anything with it. So we're going to get it underway and try to create like special features for subscribers and stuff like that. Subscriber streams, specific streams just for that, and other good stuff. Tournaments for subscribers. So you guys can submit your ideas either here on lichess to my account on lichess, message on Twitch, or you can send me an email, videochesstrainer@gmail.com. What's up, guys? Paid membership required for sub. Paid membership. Somebody asked me earlier, like, you have to be a Prime member. It has nothing to do with that. A subscription is a monthly subscription. It's optional on Twitch. So one other thing I wanted to mention now, it was slipping out of my mind. I can't recall what it was. All right, we're going to start playing here, guys. What's up, guys? I'm going to start playing in a minute, but there was something else that I wanted to address that just went in one side and came out the other of my brain. Thanks for subbing. So, Clash Kid subscriber, man. That's awesome. Ubat. You guys are awesome. Plukro is here. I didn't even mention he's one of our moderators, our primary moderator. And I know it's late for him, so let's get it started. I'll try to remember what I was going to say earlier, but I forgot something. So support the stream, whether it's subscribing. We're going to try to create special streams just for subscribers and other good stuff as we get things worked out. But I'm new to the subscriber thing. We just got the capability. Bob Sakamano is really, he's really into the stream. He just joined a few days ago, last week, and He's been here for most of our streams. Guys, my Twitch stream is acting really weird. Like, what are those circles? Alright, I'm going to play e4. Oftentimes when I play knight f3 and people play g6, I'm totally down with playing e4. Actually, I like playing e4 in general. I just don't know as much theory with e4 as I do in d4, c4, knight f3. I've played less games with e4 in my tournament experience than d4 and c4 and knight f3. But I love to play e4 too. As you guys should experiment with different openings. Don't get stuck with one thing. Bob Sakamano, he played knight f6. This is an interesting move. It's a kind of pseudo Alekhines defense, and I've actually used this move order myself, Bob. There are some interesting games in the database. So it's a question here now: if should we play e5 or just play, you know, knight c3. I think e5 is critical, and it's an Alekhines defense, but you can also play knight h5, Bob. Knight h5 is the move that's actually preferred, I noticed, by some very strong players. The main point is that white doesn't have... No, I'm lying to you guys. I'm sorry. It's not this position. It's a slightly different position where the pawn's back on d4. My bad. The bishop's back on f8. Knight h5 loses a piece here. I'm sorry. I got confused. It's alright. At least I caught myself before it was too late. Good job, Bob. You played knight d5. Okay, if the bishop's back on f8 and the pawn's back on d2, okay, then knight h5 is a variation where the knight can drop back to g7 sometimes. I'm getting the two mixed up. This is actually a kind of Alekhines defense now. Okay. We got confused, but we picked it up and we figured out the problem. So now it's a kind of hybrid variation. I guess we can play c4, c5. We can play bishop c4. We can play bishop e2. I'm going to keep it simple with the bishop e2, maybe. It's not very incisive, though. Bishop e2 is not very dangerous. Just kind of a solid way of playing with white. I was even thinking of playing like h3, but it looks really slow. Like d6, h3. He played e6, though, and I don't really like e6. That weakens the dark squares around the black king. It doesn't really have a lot of constructive value. It's like d6 attacks my center, so d6 is much better. Soul Tigo, he's been very, very helpful. Again, thanks for subscribing, Clash Kid. We've got 19 viewers already. Twitch is all messed up right now because of the red banner providing some link to net neutrality. I think the net neutrality is a really good, really important thing you guys should find out about if you don't know about it, because a lot of people do and a lot of people might not. But it's a really important issue. Either way that you stand on it, I mean, you should at least find out what it's about, because it's very, very fundamental. May decide the future of the internet. I think that you need to learn about it. So if you don't know what the issue is about, please check it out. Anyway, castles. He's weakened his king side a little bit, again, as I said. But, I mean, the knight on d5, if I kick it with c4, I kind of undermine my whole position. I don't really need to do that. But there are some limitations for me too. How about bishop g5 with the idea of queen d2 here? It's interesting. It's not your everyday position here. I think black is not that bad. Maybe the truth is that I should commit to c4 and just go for it in this position, because I'm having second thoughts about bishop g5. I thought, okay, he's got some weaknesses, but f6 is not all that bad for black. Okay, he's got some counterplay along the f file here, and I think it's worth something. Okay, the rest of his position, his queenside development is pretty slow. He doesn't really have a central pawn, but I've got to be careful. All right. We're going to play bishop h6. It's ironic because actually that's kind of a good exchange for me, strategically speaking. His good bishop. But I just thought he's got such ironclad control of f4. Maybe we'll try to finesse this a little bit. You had ad block and checks all that. You got no red banner. It could be that I have the ad block. Could be. It very much could be. I don't know, man. Okay, so that's about the net neutrality. I didn't realize it was related, but it's got to be. Rookie 8, Bob. I don't really like Rookie 8 that much because it seems like the rook is more active along the F file. Okay, I'm commentating a lot. This is actually a fast time control 5+3, so probably I should shut up and just try to move a little more quickly. At this point, I was still thinking about Queen D2. C4 is still an option. But I don't know, now he can play like Knight E7 and Knight F5 even. Maybe I should just play Queen D2. This was kind of the original plan. I mean, it seems weird. But, I mean, I still haven't signed off on never playing C4. Maybe I'll still play C4, just getting a little better control of the dark squares. It's a pretty weird way of doing this, delaying the knight move for so long. But it seems reasonable for white. He has tactical problems, like he'd like to free himself with E5, but he can't really do that because of bishop C4. So, I don't like rook E8, though. Bob overlooked a piece. He overlooked a piece, or he's playing, wow, he's playing a crazy tactic. I thought he simply overlooked a piece, but it's not. That's not the case. He actually has a crazy tactical idea here. Alright, this is going to be fun. My knight actually defends, I'm saying actually too much. My knight defends the defends the rook on A1. Is that cool? So he's got enough material on paper. He gets a pawn and a rook for 2 pieces. But I think that developmentally I'm still ahead. I could have taken on D5, but I think his bishop is a more valuable piece. We've got good development. 2 great minor pieces, especially this knight on A1. It just rocks. Maybe knight on A1 should go to C2. In B3, it looks like it's a little shut down. Knight B3, B6, like where is it going to go? Knight B3, D6. Knight B3, B6, bishop F3. Better Twitch TV settings. Maybe Opera is just the best. I wouldn't worry about it too much. It is a little annoying. Knight B4 now. Alright, this knight on A1 is just a lost soul. Collector of souls. And I'm thinking about Dmitry Reinderman again. Alright, Knight B4. I love that account. Reaper man. Okay, Knight C2, Knight takes A2. Seriously? Knight E3, Knight B4. G4. I mean, this has got to be good for me. Sacrifice. I'm sacrificing for the good of humanity. With Knight to C2. I was a little concerned if I play Knight C3, you know, he's coming with like a quick D5. Could be harassing. Could be harassment. But it was probably kind of faulty logic. You know, if he does that, I have A3 all the time. So, it doesn't really matter. I'm about to lose on time. Okay. Anyways. I don't like A5 because it creates a hole at B5. I don't think that's as good as some other options he might have had. Blue Crow, thanks for being with us at this time. Thanks everybody for joining us. We've got a lot of viewers already, which is awesome. My last stream on Monday was like really slow. What is the difference between Monday and Wednesday? There's some tournaments on Monday night, maybe that don't exist on Wednesday night. Some lightning tournament on Monday. But we got a lot more viewers more quickly now. What is that? Okay. D5, right, okay, logical. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, or pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight takes knight, something takes knight, knight takes D5. It's a little weird. I hate playing that move. Alright, I guess we've got to do this. almost have tactics with knight takes d5. We got sneaky queen moves on the agenda. And other fun stuff. Back rank is covered for us. The dark squares look very weak for black. We have bishop c4. But I think this move looks cool. I hope. I hope I didn't overlook anything here. Power of the long diagonal. Got the ultra nasty knight f6 check, winning at least the exchange. It's setting up. So this wins more. He doesn't have a good way of protecting g7 at all in this position. That's kind of a fun killer. We got 10 challenges already, guys. Pilav Yogurt, he was like queen b2. I saw it first. Yeah. That's nasty. You have serious issues now. Bob has no problem with time. He's a pretty fast player. I think he needs to take more time. Well, it's hard if you're not used to playing with the increment, though. Definitely you need to take more time with the increment. I just don't want to go over the whole game, but I want to look at the opening, guys. This is this delayed Alekhine's defense, which seems cool. So here you can apparently even play knight e4. That looks strange. I mean, I don't like the look of that, but so knight d5 c4 is most commonly played. Wow, the computer says c4 knight b4. Nobody's ever dared to do that. What is that about? c4 knight b4. Check it out. Novelty. Is that really playable for black? It's like a... That is crazy. It's like a Kiel variation in the Scandinavian, and for some reason no one has ever dared to try this for black. It doesn't really look healthy, does it? All right, anyway, so he played, you know, he would play knight b6. But interesting opening, guys. Let's play another game. Aldisto, 6+3. We've got a lot of challenges, so Junior League is going on now. I'm sure the chess Twitch commute was and is watching now. Anyway, whatever. Internet chess, serious internet chess tournaments, not gonna happen. So, but I think it's a good, this is a good forum for training. But I'm very skeptical, you know, about serious competitions online. Difficult to do, especially when there's money involved. Knight f3, c5. So, knight f3, c5. Again, I have a temptation to transpose to an e4 game, but you know what? I was studying some Petrosian games lately, and I thought, well, I'm doing all these videos on the King's Indian attack at the moment. Let's just play King's Indian. King's Indian with colors reversed. So Brundle, what you might try there is actually playing like knight f6 a move earlier. I've done that on a number of occasions. Aldisto. Now I wonder if I could do some kind of Fischer-Spassky 92 sort of pawn sacrifice with like b4. That's actually a Rossolimo. No. I mean, I played this position with black, Aldisto, so I know this is good for black. But we'll just try to do the best we can do. I don't really play this with white, this setup. In this position against the Sicilian, exactly. I don't really play the pure King's Indian attack, which I'm trying to play in this game. But I'm just kind of like influenced by some Petrosian games, which I saw recently, and I thought we'll try something different. Mostly, white. What I've seen is recommending. People are recommending that you play like c3, a3, b4, That's kind of the main line. But I thought maybe we'll try something slightly different with white, like a standard, more standard sort of King's Indian formation. I don't think it's bad for white, but I don't think that white should get an advantage. I do play this line for black. I recommend. What Aldisto is doing here was taught to me by Mark Dvoretsky. Recommended to me by him as black's best. And I don't know about move order. You know, castles looks fine. Some people try to play like d4 pawn sacrifices for white. I could still do b3. I mean a3, b4. That looks like a standard type of idea. Although the more traditional King's Indian type of approach here would be something like a4. I'm not sure how effective it is. Knight c4 and a4. Okay, let's try. I don't really believe in white's position. I always thought this was kind of not very good for white. But it's probably not bad either. 2600 player Zbigniew Kracek played the King's Indian attack against me in the New York Open 20 years ago. Something like this. Put his knight on c4. And like I did something crazy. I traded my bishop on e6 for his knight on c4. It was totally insane. Imagine this position playing bishop e6 and bishop takes c4. That's what I did against Kracek and managed to draw somehow, but it was just a really insane kind of plan. I mean, to give up my white squared bishop. I sometimes you look back at your old games from that you played a long time ago, if you have a long enough chess career, and you're just like, what was I thinking? Okay, f5. That's usually good. I usually wait until I've played maybe like bishop e6 first, but he's got an h6. I think he can do this. You know, I think this is okay for black. Definitely looks viable. I probably need to try to play for f4 somehow. It may already be too late. Anyway, we got to do something here. Giving up my center. I've been on the black side of this many times, on the white side almost never, but I thought, well, we'll try something different. Is that new chess GM analysis on Chess Training Channel? No, man, this is a video series I'm making for chesslecture.com. It's a subscription-based site that I've been working for 10 years, and make videos over there. And I'm working on a series about Petrosian's games where he's playing King's Indian attack. So I was well, we'll try to do it here, but this position in itself, it's a little bit weird. Because black got in the quick f5, that's usually advantageous for black. Though I don't think it's that one-dimensional. You know, that white's position is horrible, per se. And you have to have a lot of experience in these kind of positions. Aldisto playing f4. This is a great move. If he doesn't play f4, he's really, I think, got nothing. I'm going to get an f4. He doesn't play f4. And I'm going to have a good game. So that was a good call by him. I could consider taking, but I'm not sure if that will benefit me or not. Queen h5 looks interesting. If I take on f4, he takes on f4. How does that benefit me? I really think it's beneficial. Queen h5 is tempting, but it actually could get my queen trapped. So I think we need to be thoughtful here. Take rook e1 actually is interesting. Looks like Aldisto's played, I would say, perfectly. Pretty much what I would do. Although I might have played bishop e6 first. Maybe his move order is actually more accurate. Queen h5, bishop e6. Can we get anything going here? Rook e1. He actually has d5 in some positions. When my knight is going to have to retreat. Rook e1, I wonder. What if I just retreat my knight right away? Knight d2, it looks pretty pathetic. I don't like my position. Queen h5 again. I don't know, Queen h5. It just feels active, but I don't really like this. We're going to have to find some tactics to justify my position. I don't know. Looks strategically dubious. F4 just interferes with my structure, with my development too much. Got sarcastic comments from Smokey McPot. That's a reliable name. Bishop e6. Alright, now there's no immediate threat. I could play knight g6. I could play rook e1. Rook e1. With the idea of some tactics, maybe. Okay, now there's some traps. Knight g6. Rook e1 feels like it was a cheapo. I guess if he threatens to trap my queen, I can play bishop f3. It's just a really ugly square for a bishop. But, yeah, he's threatening bishop g4, winning a queen. Knight g6, bishop g4. Looks good for him. Bishop takes f4, bishop g4, f3, h3, h3. I'm just going through all the candidate moves here. h3, take, take, take. My queen is just millimeters from getting trapped. Literally. Don't try this at home. So this guy is strong. I recommend doing what he does against King's Indian attack. Although when he does stream, I'm like 6 hours. What are you guys talking about? Jerry from Chess Network. Yeah, he's crazy with the time. He streams, yeah, very long hours, very late sometimes. I don't know how he does it. It's a little different. I'm more concentrated, you know, into like 2.5, 3 hours. As I said in my previous streams, it's martini time after 3 hours for me, man. I start to lose focus after intensely concentrating for like 3 hours. If it's like a chess game, if it's a tournament game, you can kind of rest through parts of the game. You know, you're not constantly concentrating. Hopefully, you know, every single moment during a game. You can walk around on your opponent's time. It's different. But a 6 hours, to just concentrate like I'm doing now for 6 hours would be hard. Alright, so knight f5 now. It looks like a kind of hope chess. Like he wants me to take so that... how to explain this better? Hey, how about bishop g4? Does that make any sense? Actually, knight takes g4 followed by bishop e4. Probably loses a piece. All sorts of sick moves here for black. I'm just checking if I have any kind of tactic. It just doesn't look like anything works. Crazy, unreliable position for white. The way he's played f4 is just a thorn in my side. I'm completely in trouble with my queen almost getting trapped. So don't try this at home. Don't play the King's Indian attack unless you know exactly what you're doing. I have certain setups that I play. This is not one of them. I think around move 4, I would have varied if it was a usual game for me. Okay, now I have to react quickly. There are no tactics. I'm looking for bishop takes f4 somehow, something like that. Knight g6 maybe. Knight takes f5, knight g6. What to recommend, really? He's got this extra pawn in the center that's just playing, you know, and it's like the f file is for him. Black has just a massive advantage here. I'm lucky that I'm even alive at this point. Don't ask me what's going on, because it's not apparent. Not apparent to me. I've got some kind of tactical baloney going on that might be enough. What? I just hear this, you know, staying alive, the Bee Gees or whatever it is from like the 70s. We're lucky if he let me get away with this. All right, Aldisto fell apart there. We're pretty fortunate. I think we're really close to busted. Maybe positionally lost, but not like theoretically dead. If that makes any sense. We always had some practical chances to save the game, but he should have beaten me. That's how I would put this game. But it's not over. He's not giving up. Now he's giving up. So let's take a look. I mean, how lost was I, like, objectively through this game? We got through the opening, and then right about here, I played a4. Yeah, I mean, a3 is much better, and also rook e1. Knight h4 may be a better move. Already, the computer thinks black's better. So he followed all the book moves. And then here I said I would have played bishop e6, and that's actually the more common move. But I don't see anything wrong with actually his move f5. This was played by Alec Braun, Milko Popchev, who I lost to once, Sasanko. So f5 is equally good. And now it's like, what do I do after f5? You know, I already don't like my position. I mean, f5 may be better than bishop e6. In a sense, you're beating white to the punch. And I don't see a good plan, you know. So pawn takes f5, pawn takes f5. I agree with that move. You could take with the piece too. I tried my best, but this just looks awful for white. The engine says I should take with the pawn. That's a possibility. G takes f4. I played this. This is very dangerous for me. Bishop e6 and then rook e1, and this looks terrible. Queen e2, back to e2. Maybe I should have gone to e2 in the first place. I had to play bishop f3. And here you can play anything like d5 with a massive advantage. Rook a d8, bishop f7. He has a very serious advantage. But knight f5, bishop g4 was a blunder apparently. I didn't appreciate this. Knight takes h4, bishop takes e6, queen takes e6, queen takes d5, and his center is so big, it's just like white is getting rolled off the board. So he should just exchange pieces, and that's it. And instead he played this. Apparently I'm okay now. And the tactics, you know, with tactics, I'm decent. So here we're actually winning. But a fortunate escape, because we had a really bad position. Aldiso, sorry, I didn't see I challenge rated. Oh, you did challenge rated. Whew, that was a close one. I never even knew about it, man. Clash Kid, thank you for subscribing. Can you explain the Rookie 1 move? Okay, I mean, Rookie 1, you know, if you guys are subscribers, I'm going to try to pay special attention and give you, like, some extra, you know, attention as far as questions go. And Clash Kid did subscribe. He asked about Rookie 1. I mean, the computer says it's dubious. Look, I mean, Rookie 1 in this position, it's kind of a desperate move. I mean, he's got play along the F-file, and I've got no compensation, no kind of counterplay, but I just didn't see anything else to do, basically. Probably I should have taken with the pawn on F4, but I was a little concerned, you know, that I would actually... I was a little concerned about giving him this square for his pieces. If you want to know the honest truth, I didn't have the time to really talk about it, but the additional, like, avenue of the E5 square for his pieces I thought might be beneficial, but it turns out that this is pretty good for me. And so the computer is suggesting maybe black playing this even as a pawn sack, like queen d7, which looks pretty interesting. I should have taken, but anyway, to answer your question, like Rookie 1 was about setting up like cheap tactics on the e-file. I mean, Clash Kid, that's how I ended up like winning the game, actually, luckily, because I had bishop takes f4. You know, at that point down the line here at move 19. Rookie 1 is a kind of cheapo, but it's also just like a normal King's Indian attack move. But with the F-file situation the way it was, I agree Rookie 1 was a kind of weird move. I mean, I probably want the rook on F1 to protect F2, for example. Soroche, welcome, man. I hope this was the final rated game for today. Yeah, I hope so. I need the rating points, but I don't want to lose any. Alright, guys. I won't be, you know, it'll wake up my rating and I'll be, like, officially rated again. Because I haven't played too many Blitz games in a while here. Mahmoud, we're going to play maybe D4, because we played E4, we played the King's Indian attack. Troll in the Roll was laying bricks all day. Well, I don't think it was that well played, but thank you, Sellsword. We survived a bad opening. Don't play that like it's just a routine King's Indian attack. I was inspired by Petrosian, but even he would have struggled in that against that formation. Okay, Mahmoud. I'm going to play knight f3 here. I play knight f3 more often than knight c3, although I have played knight c3 in the past many times. Guys, mostly I play casual games because I like to take my time, comment on the games. Okay, he played knight c6, the two knights tango, and against this, if I play knight c3, black can transpose to the Nimzo. Although that's not the end of the world. Maybe I should play knight c3. He can play the sort of a kind of Rogozin, or he can play a Nimzo. But I like to play a3 a lot. Bologan, one of the guys who plays this for black, and also the King's Indian, recommends after a3 you turn it into, because I have played this for black on occasion, after a3 you turn it into a kind of King's Indian with g6, where a3 is definitely a useless move in a King's Indian classical kind of position. So Mahmoud goes with bishop b4, and we transpose to a, what's it called? A variation of the classical Nimzo that I actually play with both sides, but more often with black. So here we could play bishop g5. He castled pretty early. I mean, bishop d2 is probably the main move. Bishop g5 bad there. No. No, that transposes to a 4 knights, or what's it called? I don't know, with the 2 knights, Nimzo. I don't know what it's called. I mean, you can play bishop g5. I don't really like it, to be honest with you. I think it's a variation. Guys, thank you for joining us. b6, however, looks strange to me. I mean, I understand his intention, but Usually black tries something more central. The main move in this position is probably d6. I've also played a5 with black. You can also probably play something like rook e8 or queen e7. And I suppose even d5 is a move. But b6 looks like it doesn't really influence the center enough. I mean, with the bishop being blocked by a knight on c6, it seems kind of strange. If I go for it here with e4, I think I need to go for it here. You could play quietly with e3. You could even play you could play quietly with e3. You could even try to castle queenside, play like g4 or something. Even g4 is an interesting move. I'll kind of wing gambit. Bareyev kind of pawn sacrifice. Now Mahmoud played e5, so he has some sort of tricky tricks in mind here. Mahmoud, we only played once. That's a fantastic, crazy idea. Okay, I don't know. I mean, it's some kind of Budapest Gambit-like thing. But I don't see how I can hold on to this pawn. So it's kind of interesting. I think that I should play as simply as possible here. I don't see holding on to the pawn with something materialistic like bishop f4. That's not going to be good for me in the long run. Just bishop g5, queen e8. Unless I have bishop g5, he can sack a pawn with f6 too. Bishop g5, queen e8, knight d5 is illegal, so that's off the agenda. We're going to let him have the pawn back and just play chess in this Budapest Gambit type of structure. I have some weaknesses, like the d4 square. So I think that Mahmoud, Mahmoud has some justification here. This looks like a Budapest Gambit now, and his bishop coming to b7, it might actually work out. It might work out to be like a decent setup. So e4, I think I just made the move for him. That was weird. I was like dragging and it just went there. I was trying to make an arrow, but it moved there. Okay, knight d5 now is this very lazy sort of move, but should leave me with a lasting slight edge at the very minimum. I'm concerned that his bishop could actually go back to c5, perhaps. Is that something to be worried about? I don't know. Let's play rook d1. We'll try to get a little more mileage out of this position before we cash in with something like knight to d5. I mean, for that matter, if I played knight d5, he could even play like bishop c5 there. We should be slightly better, but I like this as creative. Who would have thought it was a Nimzo? White should be slightly better. Now I played bishop c5, but I have b4. So I don't know what this is all about. Pretty creative play by black, but I think he's giving me too much. I feel like he's giving me too much here. I mean, am I going to overextend my entire position? f4. But that's fine, dude. You're going to play bishop f8, bishop d4. Wow. What can you say to that move other than wow? That takes a lot of guts. He's gonna anchor it with c5, and I'm looking for tactics. Exchange sacrifices, maybe. c5 myself. But again, this is kind of a fast game, so let's try to keep it simple. I don't see anything special I can do. I could have played like bishop c1, c5, maybe induce the weakening of his position. Knight takes is also possible there, but seems less accurate. Guys, if you're interested in anything you want to ask about the games, it's easy for me to answer questions while we're streaming and playing one game. I do simuls on Sundays at 5 p.m. And when I'm playing like 20, 25 players in those simuls, it's often hard for me to answer any questions. But if you guys have questions about the game in question here while we're playing Blitz Classical Chess, that's why I'm using Increment. That's why we're playing kind of long time Blitz games, because it gives me time to talk about the games, really focus. Can we get in c5 now? You know, I think it's a good move if I can get it. Just that, well, all right, fine. It's a good break for me. You know, we could end up with a better pawn structure. It's a common Budapest Gambit idea. So we've got a little edge. Maybe some ideas of f4 and c6. Bishop c3 ugh. What was that about, Bishop c3 ugh? I'm back. There was an ambulance at my friend's house. All right. Guys, we'll be back Friday with the next stream. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. I'm kind of taking it easy on the summer months here because I've got to enjoy life while we have it. But I also have a stream. Best opening for both colors for beating sub 2,200 players. Best opening for both colors. Man, that really that's really not easy to beat sub 2,200 players, man. I mean, there's a big difference between like 2,150 and an 1,800. I think, if you want my honest opinion, hypermodern is the way to go. Players below master level have a hard time dealing and with hypermodern openings and have a tendency to overextend themselves. So I think masters handle themselves better in those kind of situations. That would be my suggestion. We have pawn takes pawn with a better structure. But Mahmoud is, look how he plays. Like, his pieces just go to their position and stay there. They're like rocks. You know, this guy is not giving me a lot here. I don't have a lot to do, really. I want to play f3 at some point, but it weakens my dark squares. f4. This is like an ultra safe move. Rook d2. I'm not moving anything. I'm a little scared of his piece coordination. You know, all of his pieces, this guy just magically is like super strong from its original square. The queen on d8. It's interesting how all of his pieces are good. The rook on e8, the bishop. Now he moved his knight voluntarily away from the center. That feels seems like a very minor kind of concession, but he actually has some nasty threats there. So, not real happy about that. Bishop f3. What a piece! It's a pawn. It's like a pawn, but it's a good defender. And I made enough pawn moves. Check him out. Check out his piece play. Mahmoud. Mahmoud's piece play is just awesome. Rook b8, rook e8, bishop b7, queen, excellent. Knight going to there. It's totally equal. Despite his bad structure, his active pieces and good bishop just totally balance it out. I don't have an advantage here. I don't think so. Again, excellent piece developing move. Pawn, he doesn't do pawns. You know, Mahmoud just does pieces. Actually, I'm getting a little bit scared, to be honest with you. Knight c7, man, just opens up all sorts of problems. Whew. We've played Mahmoud only once. I don't really know this player. But he's very impressive to me. I mean, he's fast. He's creative. His understanding of piece coordination is excellent. Now, my first inclination was like, oh my god, I can't take with the pawn because of queen takes d4. But I have rook takes d4. That's made on e1. Okay, I was right. Okay, I have to take this way. And I hope, you know, I hope that I'm not like losing material here. I'm just happy not to be worse. You know, he played so impressively in the late opening and early middle game. I'm feeling like, wow. I'm happy to like draw at this point, which looks like that's what's going to happen. It's totally equal. Looks more like Steve Irwin with a snakebite t-shirt. Okay, rook d7, rook d8 check. D8 check could lose material. Getting mated on the back rank. Rook a6 looks good. That should keep him at bay. I want to say like keep him at bay. What about rook d7 on the 7th? Then he has rook a4, which is a problem. I'm really nervous about the back rank here. I don't like my back rank. See? Look at this move, rook d4. Seriously? See, Mahmoud doesn't do pawns. He does just pieces. He doesn't move pawns. It's a totally different chess than me. You know, it's not bad, but he seems to be aware of the pieces. He allowed like pawn weaknesses in the opening that I probably would be disinclined to allow. With the, like the d6 pawn. I mean, I don't know if he wanted to allow that, but he doesn't think about like weaknesses as problems. He just thinks about how active his pieces can be, and it's all good. All right, now I'm a little nervous about this. He's starting rook d2, sort of. What if I play king up? Then he has rook d2, then I take, then he takes for check. King up is actually a blunder. I should probably play rook e3, allowing for rook f3. This guy is strong. I managed to beat him once, apparently. I don't remember that. Probably not that long ago. He sacked a bunch of pieces and lost. Soltigo says, you can skip my game one more time. Skip your game one more time? What do you mean, I skipped your game already? Soltigo, I didn't know I skipped anybody. I hope I didn't skip anybody. I am going to take subscribers probably ahead of everybody else. So, Clash Kid is subscribed. I mean, he's one of the first subscribers we've had, which is awesome. So it was very important I played rook e3 first, because now I can play rook f3 and just lose a pawn. Seriously? Let's think about this. Oh my god. I'm gonna lose material? Really? Rook takes a7, rook takes f2 check, king g1, and I'm hosed. I think I have to lose a pawn here. Fight to draw this endgame. Question is how now, brown cow? I mean, this guy is outplaying me in a rook ending. The whole game was impressive. Very accurate. I think this is a theoretical draw. I need to get behind that rook pawn. Get my kingside mobilized So I try to get some space and get some counterplay. Maybe g4. g4 is a good start. King h4. Not sure if I need h4 or not. It probably doesn't hurt. This should still be a draw. I would be more concerned, not that it's an easy draw. I'd be more concerned if it was like a g pawn. Alright, now g5. Not sure if g5 is good or not. Okay, so now we reach the situation where it's kind of like, how does he make progress? He really shouldn't push this pawn down to the 7th rank, you know, theoretically. Computers used to play this kind of position against me for hours and hours. I would have 130 move games against like Fritz 7, drawing this sort of position. We would just play it on, play it on, play on, play on, play on, play on, play on, not realizing that it's actually a draw. $5 subscription. Blue Crow, you really don't need to subscribe, man. I mean, you've done so much. I would even be ashamed to take your subscription money. Please don't even think about it. Yurun and Blue Crow, I mean, just being a moderator is... Alright, he didn't make an attempt here, but I don't know what's going on, dude. I mean, his king should come across. He should at least make an attempt. He didn't make an attempt. Weird game. Like, really weird game. And the opening was weird. He played a very rare setup here. And check this out. New move. B6. Novelty. D5. A5. It's interesting that Stockfish likes B6. Theoretical novelty. Interesting. Coincidence? I don't know. Alright, guys. Clash Kid is up. Soltigo is next. Who's gonna be the next subscriber? Clash Kid. But when employed, oh, I'm done. Unemployed, married, broke kids. Can it get worse? I think that the kids don't have to be a bad thing. Married, I totally feel for you. All right, I'm playing the English opening. Let's see what we can do. I could transpose though. Let's go. Let's play something real. Clash Kid paid his subscription, so he gets to play a real Grunfeld. I won't be a chicken and play some kind of English opening here. Okay, mainline exchange Grunfeld, which I haven't played in a long time. No time like the present to play the modern exchange variation. Rook B1. I was playing this a long time. Back in the early 90s, I started playing this variation, and it was just getting popular. I can remember first noticing Alexander Holifman playing this line in like 1988. I remember in some chess magazine. Traditionally in the 80s, Kasparov and Karpov had a lot of Grunfelds, and they never discussed this variation as far as I can recall. So this particular line didn't really garner a lot of attention until after the Karpov-Kasparov matches. Karpov tried a lot of other stuff. He tried mostly like the main lines. He played G3 Grunfelds. He played Bishop F4. He played the Russian system, but he did not really play this variation. Alright, so Clash Kid, it's not typical what he did here. I mean, they're supposed to usually grab the pawn with Queen A5 and take on A2. You know, so it seems like he's getting a bad version of that. Here I could play queen a5 check, queen d2, queen takes d2, and take, I guess, with the bishop and just have slight advantage, you know? Have like a slightly better ending. Because the normal lines are like bishop d2, queen takes a2, white sacrifices a pawn. Okay, I've had some games with that. e6. This looks like some sort of Peter Svidler modern novelty. It's a useful move, usually a little later on in these lines. It might weaken his king side. I mean, maybe I can go postal here. Dial the postal service and go h4, h5. I mean, if I play h4, he could play h6 or h5, I guess. But, I mean, let's have some fun. I mean, he paid his subscription. We'll go crazy. I'm not trying to play va-banque or unsoundly, you know, but I mean, e6 is a slow move. It cuts off bishop g4. I've got h5. I've got king f1, Polugievsky style. So, I was just talking about this with one of my students yesterday. You know, okay, like the rook is developed. You know, we don't need to worry about castling. My king has a safe place. The bishop is developed on e2. So why not h4? If he had bishop g4, it might not be as good. Okay, h6. This is actually the most, I would say, stable way of playing. He doesn't give me the g5 square. Now bishop, let's see, bishop e3, bishop f4. Bishop e3, knight d7, queen d2. What exactly is my intention here? About h5, piece sacrifices? Could it be I could do some kind of piece sacrifice? Take, h6? No. h4 felt very mighty, but now I'm having my second thoughts. Alright. We've got queen d2. If queen a5 check queen d2, well, pretty much queen d2, anything, queen d2. There's knight d7, queen d2, bishop takes h6. Knight d7, queen d2, knight f6, bishop takes h6, knight takes e4. That's kind of fun. I could see Svidlerian. Now e5 probably starts to look interesting now. Because I said queen d2, knight f6, I'm not crazy about that. e5. Shutting out knight f6. I'd like to play h5 at some point down the line. I think we go nuts here. We're just going to go nuts. I mean, h5. This has got to be something. This is not a joke anymore. We'll go completely berserk. Sacrificing pieces, what have you. We'll have some combination of h6 and knight takes g5 check, bishop d3, bishop e4. There's got to be something here. I mean, this is kind of intuition. I don't even like feel like it's a question. White has to have something here. There is no question. Now we're going to have to take the time to work it out, though. Change in the background. Stale milk. Change in location. I am in the US of A. I don't see an alternative to G5, Clash Kid. So, how are we going to do this now? Bishop D3 check is one starting place. Knight takes H6. Pawn takes H6. I mean G5, sorry. H takes G, H6. Bishop H8. Whew. I mean, this has got to be winning for white somehow. Knight takes, pawn takes, h6. Bishop h8. Queen d3 check. King g8. Queen e4. Whew, this is vicious. That's one variation that looks like maybe I didn't analyze far enough. Alright, is there any benefit in not playing h6 right away? $1,000,000 question. Seems like it restricts his pieces, but I'm not sure this actually works. I mean, obviously I have a lot of play. Is it enough, though? Well, I can force his king to g8, and then, I mean, rook h5 or something looks devastating. Okay, maybe that's the simplest. Queen d3 check may not be the best square to actually check on. I could do other ways like bishop d3. Maybe queen d3 check might allow some sort of sacrifices, return sacrifices like knight takes e5, some inconvenient move. Speaking of return sacrifices, he's trying to bail out on me here. Okay, that gives him the it gives him f5 as a defensive resource, eliminating my e5 pawn. The fact that he has f5 is going to make a lot of difference defensively for black. I really don't feel like I should trade queens here. Although even that might be good. Do I have anything better? Any kind of check, he's got king h8 or f5. Bishop takes g5 is bad. I mean, I'm down a piece here, so I need to get it back. I don't see anything better. Queen takes queen, bishop takes g5. Queen takes queen, bishop takes g5, knight d3 check, king f1. But and this ending should be much better for me. I have a very strong passed pawn, 2 bishops. It's not clear on what terms I should do this. I can do bishop takes g5 right away. I can trade queens. I cannot trade queens. Queen c3 looks interesting. Then f6 or something. And he's in a really ugly position, but I just don't see, you know, this is that devastating for black. I don't know. Queen c3, f6. And he's hanging on by a thread. Queen c3, f6, bishop d4. Alright, let's keep the queens on. He's got queen f6? No. Let's keep the queens on. It seems more dangerous this way for black. I mean, f6 is no walk in the park. He has a lot of king issues. I could play f4. He's barely hanging on. I'm still down a pawn this way. I have bishop takes g5, winning a pawn back. He has queen d5, a nasty centralizing move in a lot of positions, which I've got to be wary about. I can castle. I almost forgot about that. That's possibly a very good move at some moment, although I don't want to drop my h6 pawn. Guys, don't forget to just kind of check out the issue of net neutrality. Decide where you stand on it. Don't be ignorant. Whichever way you decide, something you should know about. I think that it's really awesome that a lot of sites like Twitch and Firefox are drawing a lot of attention to it. It's a huge issue. So please don't ignore it. Queen c3, I don't see options for black here. Okay? Is he thinking about queen d5? Is he thinking about... What is he thinking about? Other than... I mean, queen f6, bishop d4 is like resigns. That's resigns for black. So f6 is almost forced. Now bishop takes g5. Queen d5. Bishop takes g5, queen d5 looks kind of annoying. I could play rook d1 first. Probably doesn't hurt to stop queen d5. Stop termites before they stop you. Bishop takes g5 is still on. But he's again got annoying counter threats, you know. I think I should play like f4. But man, I mean, his bishop on b7 is gonna just pulverize me. I have to be more aggressive. Is there anything else? Queen c2 check, bishop d3 check. Bishop d3 check. Knight takes d3, queen takes d3 check. Nothing special. Bishop d4. Bishop takes g5, f takes g5, queen takes... I don't know. Trying to get my pawn back, for one thing. Open up his king a little bit. This could potentially open the f-file for him, but after queen takes e5, I mean, bishop d3 is going to be all sorts of problems for black. If he takes on g5, I take on e5. Whatever he does, queen b4 check, king f1. He's going to have to deal with bishop d3, which is just a world of hurt, with his king on h7. So he didn't want any part of that, which is pretty much understandable. Now he's got some play, so we got to be a little bit thoughtful. Queen takes e5. Queen b4 check, bishop d2. Queen takes d2. Does that look good? Does that? No way. Put it on the tactics problem. Do the tactics server. I think we've got a tactics server problem. Queen g7 check. An unfortunate consequence. The bookends effect. Okay, there's two ways to do this, right? Squeeze. Lemon squeezer. Well, that was cool. That worked out. All right, thank you for the game. I don't know what was really going on at the critical juncture where I played this tactic, queen takes. I found queen takes e5, thankfully. I almost didn't find it. I almost played something else. So we took our time here. It looks like we found the best moves. Bishop takes g5 in the key position, and he blundered, which is understandable. It's easy to miss queen takes e5, but he had to play queen f7, it looks like. And white is slightly better. in this open position. Thank you for the game. Thank you for subscribing to the stream. All right, guys, I'm ready. Soltigo says he's ready. He's ready, then we're ready. All right, it's 8+3. We've got a ton of challenges, guys, today. I don't know what happened, but Monday was really, really slow. In fact, we almost didn't have enough challenges. And now today, we're super busy. We've got just endless challenges. All right. Keith Erdekel, welcome to the stream, guys. It was a fun game. And 99RNG says, I found queen takes e5 easily. You know what? I think that it's, you know, it's kind of depending on what kind of player you are. I'm not like a young Hikaru Nakamura whose first inclination is looking for tactics all over the place. It's not a right or wrong, you know. That's what makes chess cool. I actually look more for positional factors first, and then I think I tend to scan for tactics like before I make my move. You know, that's just the way I've learned to play chess over the years. So, I mean, some tactics will jump out at me, but I think for the most part, I'm thinking positional play first, and then normally like there's this sort of voice in my head that's like double checking, almost like an intuitive kind of thing. We're double checking for tactics. Something didn't let me make my move until I saw queen takes e5, you know, so. Okay, f6 Soltigo, interesting move, but I think that it's probably bad for black. It weakens the king side, but white has to play very actively to exploit it. c4 right away is probably best. I mean, bishop g2 I think is a move too. Bishop g2, e5, pawn takes pawn, e4. I'm pretty sure I analyzed that. But I mean, maybe c4 is just better. Not even giving black that, I mean, kind of legitimate position. Bishop g2, e5, take, e4. Interesting, but it's like a reverse King's Indian. But with c4, I think here you're just going to get punished. You played e5 now. And, I mean, instead of f6, black needs to play something else. You can do f6 sometimes, but it's too early here. Okay. It's a kind of like, it looks a little bit like he can turn this into an Albin, actually. D takes e, d4, with a form of Albin counter gambit. C takes d5, queen takes d5, knight c3, bishop b4. And then what do I do? I wonder if it's interesting to play knight c3 straight away. That's also pretty cool. Pretty legitimate possibility. So we have a lot of options here. DE. And that's what he's going to do. And he's going to transpose to an Albin. I don't see another move. D4 is forced. Okay, I mean, there's some weird forms of the Albin where you can like take on c4. I have no idea if my move is the best. CD was my first inclination, but after queen takes, knight c3, bishop b4, I started to be kind of unconvinced about my position. But I think I was wrong, you know, probably. There's one variation there. CD, queen takes d5, knight c3, bishop b4, bishop g2, e takes d, castles. No, bishop g2, knight takes d. That bothered me. But there, maybe I have queen a4 check at the end of the day or something like that. This is very tactical. I decided to just make a move. Going into an Albin-like position after d4. Bishop b4 check looks like a move. I don't think it's good or bad. Probably bishop d2. I could play knight c3 and then d4 a3, which would be complicated. Possibly good for black. We certainly got into an original position here. Active Guard asks, do I live in Hungary? I do live in Hungary most of the year, but I still maintain a summer residence in the United States. And I've been coming here and living in the US for July and August maybe the last 6 or 7 years. It gets really monotonous to be in the same place all year long. So, and I get really homesick. I'm a native, not Native American, but I am a native to the United States, and it gets really really old, being out of your home country for so long, like a year, 2 years, 3 years. I get homesick, so it's very refreshing to come home sometimes. D takes c4, and it's a tray, just crazy. Queen's Gambit accepted, Albin. I don't know what you want to call this. So, taking on f6 kind of helps him develop his pieces, but it does win a pawn. I mean, it saves a pawn, shall I say. Alright, I'm just going to think about just developing straight away here. I don't think this can be bad. If I have to sacrifice a pawn, I'm going to have compensation. This pawn is weak. I'm ahead in development. It's like a Catalan. How often do you sacrifice pawns in the Catalan with white? I don't want to do something like trade queens. Thank you, Blue Crow. Thank you to everybody who's already subscribed. You guys can support the stream by subscribing here. You can also support me by making a donation via PayPal. We haven't had many donations lately, but I really appreciate those of you that do donate to support this and my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Bishop g2, I think, the idea here is just quick development. He's got a lot of open lines, a lot of weaknesses. I don't want to bring his knight out for him, so to speak, with pawn takes f6. Bill, apparently my reply had too many symbols. Your reply had too many symbols. Yeah, I mean, people that spam, they put in like all kinds of weird characters and stuff. So Mubot automatically, scans out those replies with like 10 or more symbols. So you were caught for being a spammer. Glides in P says, is it my impression, or are you title players not really like closed positions? No, I don't think that's it at all. I think that it's just a matter of style. I think that closed positions, open positions is something that it really doesn't depend on level of strength of players. I think it's just a stylistic thing based on whether you like strategy or tactics more, maybe like what openings you play, who's influenced you. I don't think it's really about like stronger players or weaker players prefer open positions. I think there's a balance of both. But through streaming, I have realized that I actually personally do have a tendency to prefer more open positions. I didn't really consciously know that, until I started streaming and just talking about the games that I was playing live more and more and more. And the more I talked about it, it's like therapy or something, It's like I'm doing my own sort of chess psychotherapy, self-analysis, and I started to realize, I feel really uncomfortable in the closed positions. I feel like I need more time in closed positions. In a tournament game, I feel a little more comfortable, but in Blitz, I have to say that I feel like I don't have the time I need to play the closed positions. So Soltigo now, I mean, his development looks a little slow, but he's trying to set up castle's queenside and maybe put some pressure on the d file. Now, obviously, I can take on f6 whenever I want to, but I've been playing in a way that is trying to exploit a lead in development. Now knight c3 looks like a normal move, but if I just keep making normal moves, I may end up with nothing, I'm a little concerned about this possibility of him castling queenside, though. I don't really like that. Bishop takes b4, queen takes b4. It's a great idea by black. I mean, what an idea. Queen d7 would have been allowing me to play bishop takes b4, so he plays queen e7. His knight is not great. But I just don't know what to do here. Knight c3. I mean, what am I going to do next? I'm not counting material. I don't care if you're up a pawn. I'm going to get my pieces out quickly and do the best I can. But I'm not down a pawn yet. I could be if he takes the pawn now on e5, I guess. He doesn't want it. I think this is a weird move. I mean, it looks like he should castle queenside. I really thought he was going to castle queenside. So we'll play queen a4. Anyway, which was kind of the plan. But he doesn't have the mobility of this knight that he would if he had castled queenside. He could be maybe playing knight takes e5 or something. I mean, I could put my queen on c2, but queen a4 is actually guarding the e5 pawn because of pawn takes pawn, knight takes e5. So if I play queen c2, he just plays pawn takes pawn and he gets his pawn back, or he goes up a pawn, I mean. Whereas this way, you know, so I think this is clearly better to castle queenside for black there than play rook d8. If he does something like bishop d7, that's fine. You know, he backs off. I'll play queen c2. Why didn't he castle to get the rook on the open file? Well, the rook is on the open file. That's not the issue, but the issue is his king. Yeah, obviously, castling queenside. He was afraid, I guess, his king would be exposed. I mean, along the long diagonal, maybe. I would have some threats, which is true, long term. I would be willing to bet that if we put this on the engine after the game, it's going to say white, even after queenside castles, which is probably his best move, instead of rook d8. I bet that the computer engine is going to say that white is still better. I think the pawn on c4, it's kind of weak. His development on the king side is really funky. My rooks are connected. But obviously it would have been better to castle queenside. Now he goes nuts with h5. And now I'm thinking about taking on. I think we're going to take on f6 because it looks like a good time to do it. I mean, what's he going to do? Bishop takes, knight takes. Look at his king side now. If he tries to castle king side, his king side looks crazy. Probably he should. He should do it anyway, but I'd love to play knight h4, but it hangs my bishop on. It hangs my bishop there, so. The idea was bishop g5. Maybe there is another move, like rook d1. Now I have an assortment of threats. Knight e5, knight h4. I don't know about knight h4, actually. That looks like kind of a cheapo. He's basically sidestepped them. My assortment of threats looks kind of hollow now that you think about it. But I still think his king side, okay, let's just reset here, you know. I don't have any concrete threats. Okay, I admit it. I don't have any concrete threats, but you know what? I mean, your king looks ridiculous there. So, material is equal. His king is ridiculously open. My king is ridiculously safe. I have a better, safer pawn structure. That's about where it stands now. I probably missed something better. But look at his king after h5. That's going to be maybe the difference in the game. If that pawn were on h7, black would probably be okay here. Queen f7. Which, gives us some interesting possibilities. Knight e5. Knight takes e5, queen takes b4, garnering the bishop pair. Well, I gotta watch the f file. So I really wanted to play like bishop f4. Queen c2 is a decent move. Knight h4, it looks good at first, but it actually opens up potential for him to attack me on the f file. We could play like rook takes rook, knight e5, knight takes e5, queen takes b4 with a slight edge. Oh man, running out of time. Bishop f4, queen g6. Running out of time. All right. Let's just play something. I thought here, you know, I just had the bishop pair, and it stops queen g6. You know, I can pretty much foresee what he's going to do. And we just have the bishop pair, a better pawn structure. Black doesn't have any obvious threats. So I'm not winning by force, but I have a better position. And with the time situation, I kind of wanted to keep it simple. In a situation where he doesn't have a lot of play. b7's hanging, so he defends that. Now my queen is out of play. We don't want the queen out of play. We're going to harass some more pawns. We have a slight advantage, not much, considering how much we probably could have had. If you guys want to send me a message or communicate, it's usually hard when I'm in time pressure like this, but why not take on d first? Why take on d8 first? Because he's got threats on the f file. I was concerned about him taking on d1 and having threats down my f file. I don't really care that he has the d file. I mean, he's got nothing on the d file. There's no penetration to d2. I mean, I really don't think that that file matters a whole lot. He even just played rook f8. He's so dead set on something on the f file. What's up here? It doesn't seem like he really has any threats. So I start taking pawns. Queen takes a7. I mean, among anything else, this move is okay. It's got to be fine. We're just taking a pawn. Pawn eating contest. Queen g6, I'm just going to take off the knight. Just keep it simple. And take a second pawn on c7. And I mean, this is where at the end of the day my pawn structure really matters. You know, his king is open. I have 4 pawns to protect my king. You know, it's very hard to penetrate this 4-pawn fortress. Now it's just like he dropped a piece. But even just a minute ago, I mean, I think that black had some reasonable play. And the position wasn't that clear. So obviously we're winning here, but let's take a look. I mean, what a crazy game. Has anything like this ever been played? Yes, I'm sure. Surprisingly, f6, there's no master games here. I mean, that's... Okay, we'll probably get a transposition. Okay, so there's a few games. Some guy named Johann Furhoff is the expert. And it's like over-the-board games, because these are real players. Ornstein, Sandstrom, Soberg, Poli. This is an over-the-board game, not Correspondence Master. He specialized in f6. So it looks like c4 was played, and bishop g2 did better, but I thought c4 was more dynamic. Here he played e5, and this is the one game the guy won against Sandstrom, who's a 2400 player in 99. Yeah, here I thought a long time about taking on d5, but I guess it's not so clear. I really wanted to make this move work, but I don't see it. You know, queen takes d5. This is strange, you know. Like, it looks weird for black, and he's got a decent game. Let's see, bishop g2. This is the variation I was concerned about. Knight takes d4. And I have to sack a pawn. Check this out. Like, castles, knight takes f3. I guess you could take with the pawn, even. That's crazy. I should take with the pawn to undermine black's center with f4. Wow. Queen takes d1, rook takes d1, with the idea of f4, and white has compensation for his sacrificed pawn, but it's not that great. So I was glad I didn't do that. I did another way. We follow Sandstrom versus Furhoff. And queen a4 or bishop g2. I played bishop g2. And this is, we're leaving that previous game. Sandstrom played queen a4. But queen a4 is, you know, fundamentally, it's just fundamentally not as basic a move as like bishop g2. Engine thinks it's good though. Equally good to bishop g2. And now bishop e6, castles, looks like best play. I liked queen e7 a lot. The engine agrees. It's a main move here. Oh, this is surprising. This has never been played. Looks like a legitimate gambit for black. But there you clearly messed up. I mean, you have to castle queenside. This is it, man. And then I was going to play queen a4. And it looks just like an Albin counter gambit. Very interesting game. All right, guys. So, why choose not to castle queenside? Yeah, it was weird, man. I don't know why he chose not to castle queenside. We've got a lot of challenges. I'm never going to get to them all today. We're going to do our best, though. We've got like 50 minutes left. We should be able to play 3 or 4 more games before the end of the stream at 6:30 Eastern. Guys, please subscribe to the channel. We've got a couple of subscribers already. Clash Kid and Blue Crow. Monkey Pushing Wood. I don't know if he's here. I just disjointed my knee, I think. He is here. All right. Let's try a modern defense. Something kind of interesting. Oh, c4. Well, all right. I'll give you another chance to transpose to kind of a mainline opening here. Bishop g7. I would play c5 if this was a tournament game. Now I'm not going to give him any more chances. The best he can get now is a Botvinnik English after c5. But I think objectively White's best move here is d4 in this position. Knight c3, c5, g3. We're into the Botvinnik English. Bishop g2. And now we have 2 different ways to play. It depends on whether you prefer to play... actually, there's more than 2 different ways to play. We can try to exploit White's move order here. Okay, classical ways like e6 or knight f6, but this move is recommended by Richard Palliser in his book Beating the Beating Unusual Chess Openings. It's a 2006 title, I think. 10 years old book. A6, because he's played c4 and e4 so early, like without black committing to any kind of structure, what we're going to try to do is play a kind of Benko style. And this is an idea that's used also with white in the English opening when black plays this sort of setup reversed. So b5. It's not like it's devastating, but practice is not good. The results in practice are not good when white tries to take this pawn on b5 here. Pawn takes b5, knight takes b5. Bishop a6. And black has a huge initiative. So instead of playing d3, I think you need to play a4 there, monkey. You don't really have a lot of choice. I think this move is basically forced. Because everything else just looks ugly. And a lot of people don't like to play with the early a4, but I think objectively you really kind of have to here. Troll and Roll says, sits in a chair, injures his knee. I had this bad habit of wrapping my feet around the legs of the chair. And I don't know why I do that, but I do it sometimes. And when I do that, it sometimes twists my knee in a really weird way. And that's what just happened, for your information. C takes b5, c takes b5. It's a Benko. No, it's the Botvinnik English. Richard Palliser says this is bad for white. I agree. I saw one game where actually a pretty legitimate player did this with white, and Tejas Bakre, my friend from India. He got a really nasty position. So just good play for black against this diagonal, against this pawn on d3. But maybe monkey pushing wood at this point might as well grab the pawn. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's to recommend there. Here, b4. Do we play b4 and try to do something directly, or I'm just not sure about attacking that pawn violently with b4 and knight e5. But it feels right to play b4. We'll see what we'll decide on what to do next. But I mean, this move, okay, I can't imagine that's wrong. The question is like the follow-up. Is this going too far, you know, or should I? Knight e5, we're not going to win this by force, it looks like. He's got knight back to e3, knight c4 type of blockading. And if knight e5, he has knight f4. And I don't want to play g5, honestly. Unless I had like h5, and even then it would be weird. e6. I mean, probably the best thing to do here is to just kind of pretend it's like a normal position, where I just got a head start on the queen side. And something like d6. I've got to be watching out for queen a4. That's a little bit awkward. Like d6, queen a4. There's like suddenly problems for black. You could almost like lose by force if you're not careful. So e6, getting the knight off of that forward square. But it's not that simple. He has some counterplay. Okay, now the queen a4 stuff is cut out. So knight e3, knight e7, and we're going to go from there. And I think that black has to be slightly better. We have one pawn island. Black has one pawn island. White has two. And the d3 pawn is backward. I've got very good control of d4, the long diagonal, maybe even the a file for black. This should be good. Ominous Monkey, thanks for joining us, man. Free Helios. The pawn is the soul of chess. What's up? Thank you for subscribing. e6, we kick the knight out. I don't know what he's thinking about here. He could go to f4 or e3. That's what he's thinking about. Actually, I like e3 because the other knight might want to go to f4. If you put your knight, yeah, you see, the way he's doing it now, his knights are redundant. Mark Dvoretsky talked about redundant knights in one of his classic books, Secrets of Chess something. I don't remember which one it was. The late Mark Dvoretsky was regarded as like the best trainer in the world. He talked specifically about redundant knights in one of his works, which is not, I do not recall at this moment which it was, but this is an important concept. You know, I think it would be better to go, for that reason, knight e3. The other knight won't, you know, be on the same track. And they're not getting each other's way. Okay, now this move a3, it's just kind of nibbling at my pawn chain, but that's fine. It's almost like a it's almost like he's isolating his own pawn on b2 with that move. Probably I just shouldn't do anything, just ignore it. And I can take with the knight on b4. I don't really want to take with the pawn on d4, then his pawns might start rolling in the center. But I guess a3 is not a bad move under the circumstances. There just aren't a lot of options. It's kind of a slightly unpleasant position for white. He's tied down to b2. Can't move that c1 bishop. His knights are getting in each other's way. His bishop on g2 is blocked. It's still not that easy for me to crush him or something. That's the nature of like the closed Sicilian or whatever this is, but I still think that Black's position is just much easier to play than my opponent's. Pawn structure, Isolani, backward pawn. Development is even slightly in Black's favor, with this guy still being on the back rank. But I think the structure is the most important thing here. Also, his knight has nowhere to go. This has nowhere to go ever from f4. Another reason why I really like knight e3. And for those of you who are like materialistic, we don't even consider the move g5. That's not an option. However, e5, yeah, I think that e5, you know, maybe, I don't love it because it blocks my bishop on g7, but if it wins a pawn, I mean, it still gives him like a hint of counterplay, you know, and this isn't going anywhere. It's just not going anywhere. I mean, I'm tempted to play something like queen b6 here. And e5, knight d5, knight e takes d5, e d5. I guess I'm just clearly better there. d6 maybe. Alright. I don't want to let him play d6, I think. We're going to go for this. He could also play knight h3, but it looks pretty lame. I don't know. I feel this is like a slightly materialistic way for Black to play. Okay, rook takes a6 doesn't really have any bearing on the situation. You know, I'm just up the exchange here. So, clear exchange up. Okay, he denied the pressure on d3, but he has zero counterplay. He's going to try to play f4, of course, which is like giving him more than zero counterplay. But knight g5 looks like a possible blunder. Bishop h6, knight takes f7. That's kind of awkward. Let's not and say we did. Actually, would that even work? Knight takes f7, bishop takes d2, knight takes d8. That actually wouldn't work. I could have played bishop h6. Alright, now it's too late. Hysterical laughter. Alright, it's just time. Time for a move. It's just a blitz game. We're threatening something, I think. Sort of. But I like to just keep it simple at this point. We're just going to keep it simple and win with this extra exchange. Knight takes f7, bishop takes c1. That looks good. No longer does that tactic work. And we're threatening f6. So it's pretty obvious. Yeah, f4 looks forced. We just trade down, and we're going to play with this easy way to play. Okay, he can block my play. He can block my play on the e file, so I'm not going to bother with that. Maybe with the a file. We get the queen and rook in as quickly as possible here. But I've got to give him credit. I mean, he did defend about as well as can be expected down in exchange for nothing there. This is pretty far gone. And I think f6 would be nice. Play f6 somehow. Maybe if only there was a way. He's defending this in a really annoying way. Alright. Just can't find a way to make this work. Alright. You know what I'm going to do? What is he doing? Ah, alright. I was about to lose on time. How about like a winning king and pawn endgame? I really should have played like c2 there. Monkey, you got the time thing down. Alright. I almost flagged because I was just being negligent about the clock. Alright, Glideson is up next. Pilaf, Yogurt, and Trouts. I will look the video tonight. I thought about Philidor when I didn't understand the context of that comment about Philidor. I think I missed something in the stream, guys. Sorry. So, Glideson L. Thanks for joining us. Glideson is in Brazil. He, I think he's a student or has been a student and very busy, so he didn't have time to watch when I was streaming in Europe. But he sent me a message recently, and he was happy that I was streaming from the Eastern time zone because he could watch the streams. So he's been a really nice guy. He's played occasionally in the stream and off stream, and I just want to say thanks to him for his contribution, for coming here and playing with us. Mad Menace says shout out. Glideson, okay, so we got a bunch of different openings. I mean, I see a lot of Grunfeld Fianchetto variation, which is really hard for white to get anything. I've been playing this opening for like most of my career, not so much recently, and I was influenced by Anatoly Karpov, who used it, you know, of course, in championship matches with Kasparov. But it just seems like the Grunfeld is a great opening, and it's like impossible to get an advantage against it in some way in every variation. But the G3 line itself, its characteristic is that it's very solid for white. A lot of professional grandmasters play this opening for white, but I think objectively it's like safety first mentality. Okay, rook e8 looks a bit weird. I think that you're supposed to take on c4, Glideson. I mean, it seems to me that these lines, these modern lines with knight to c6, are mostly about black taking on c4, and that's like kind of like a main idea. But there also could be some kind of weird, maybe there's even some weird like bishop e6 line possible. But rook e8 looks very suspicious. I can take on d5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5, queen takes d5, knight e5, queen takes d4, knight takes c6, queen takes d1, knight takes c7 check, rook takes e7, rook takes d1, rook takes e2, rook d8 check, bishop f8, bishop h6, game over. Is it that simple though? Take, 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 knight e5. It's not that simple. I mean, he has alternatives, you know, but the rook on e8 looks particularly stupid here. We're taking, he's taking. He doesn't have to take. He can take back on c6. That's good for me too. Just double checking the variation that I just said. cd, knight takes, queen takes, knight e5. Nothing like a forced variation. Queen takes d4, knight takes e5. You've got to play queen takes d1. What is this? Actually, I'm saying knight takes e7. That's not even a move. cd, knight takes d5, knight takes, queen takes, knight e5, queen takes d4, knight takes c6. He's going to have to take back on c6 at some point and answer bishop takes c6 with like bishop h3. This has to be good for white. I think this rook is just wrong here. So as far as I can recall, I mean, you should take. Actually, taking might be too late because of d5, but I doubt it. I'm not even sure what the theory is here. Am I supposed to play like, what am I supposed to play? d5? Queen a4? That doesn't feel right. I'm not honestly sure what's going on. Was I supposed to take on d5 last move? Takes here. We will investigate after the game. But this looks bad for black. Okay, he's not losing by force. He probably has something like queen to d6. Some kind of queen to d6, just trying to survive, like, without losing material. That's basically the only thing. Queen d6, queen e6. And that's the only moves that really make a lot of sense. It's probably forced. But somehow this should be good for white. You have to earn the attention. Just Caro Khan. What's up? Did or is Blue Crow playing? No, Blue Crow is... Yeah, he didn't even get in the list. We had an amazing number of challenges today. Monday was really slow. I mean, my stream had been down for a couple days last week because of verification issues, and I got back on. Wait a minute. Did I get back on Sunday? Got back on Sunday, did the simul, and then Monday I had some problems. No, Monday was good. And Monday I didn't have that many people here. We've got 48 viewers, but everybody's very active. Glycerin, why queen takes d4? Here you have, it looks like you can defend. Unless you have a good idea. I mean, queen d6 or queen e6. I don't like your rook on e8. Okay, but I'm not sure you're lost. But this looks like you're losing. I mean, you are up a pawn, however. So maybe you have some idea here. I was looking at pawn takes, bishop takes c6, bishop h3. Does that make sense? Is it possible this isn't so bad for black? Okay, let's take on d4 with the queen and then play bishop takes c6. I mean, any kind of endgame is going to be like slightly worse for black, like a Catalan endgame where he has broken pawns, but he will have a powerful dark squared bishop. But I'm looking at like takes, queen takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop takes c6, bishop h3, rook e1, and he's just losing the exchange, isn't he? I think that's the truth of the reality of the situation, is that he's going to lose an exchange, and because of the rook on e8, I didn't even really count on winning the exchange, but that's what's going to happen, and it's a lot better than like having a slight pawn structure advantage, which is what I thought I might have to settle for here. Broke like the game. Whenever I see that background divider, I know you're in the States. How's it going on the East Coast? I'm great, man. It's great to be, you know, my home territory for a change. It gets really lonely, like being a foreigner in a foreign country. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot of issues with people who are like immigrants in today's world, and I mean, I can identify with them because it's just really hard, you know, constantly living in another culture where people look at you like you're an outsider, you know, and oftentimes it's like very subtle little things, but it's just nice to be able to go somewhere where I'm just like accepted as a native. In Budapest, I feel people always know that I'm not one of them, you know, no matter how long I'm there for. So rook d1 sets up tactics for black, you know. Can I do rook d1? Does he have outs like rook d8, bishop takes a8, bishop takes f2, king takes f2, rook takes d1? I'm up a piece. Okay, so I could do rook d1. We could do rook d1. We could do rook e1. Ewok. Is there any tactic with rook d1? Rook d8, bishop takes e8. I'm just kind of afraid of ghosts here, right? Tell me I'm just afraid of ghosts. Everybody has a tendency to be afraid of ghosts. I don't want to allow any kind of tactic that would ruin my advantage. But obviously this move is much more aggressive than rook e1. You know, rook e1 was like, okay, at the minimum I have rook e1. I'm just winning the exchange. He doesn't have any counterplay. Now his bishop's hanging too. And he doesn't have a great move. I mean, rook d8 just fails. So now he has to like waste a move with e5 or something lame. The volume is too low, said Just Caro Khan. We had somebody who said that yesterday. I think that we would have a lot of complaints if the volume was low. So I don't know. Again, I'll like ask everybody, but in general, does anyone have any like volume issues here? I don't see any reason to even question this move. Now we have a little problem with getting my pieces out, but I would consider sacrificing material to do it, like bishop e3, bishop takes b2, rook b1, bishop c3, and that's kind of annoying because we're actually losing a pawn. Rook b1, bishop f5, obviously. I mean, it may be a situation where we don't have a lot of options. I might have to do this. Actually, bishop g5. Bishop g5 looks pretty tempting. But what am I talking about? I could do e3. It really weakens the white squares, though. He has all sorts of moves after that, like bishop g4. Bishop e3, bishop takes b2, rook b1, bishop c3. Am I missing anything here? I mean, I could force force an ending with like rook b3, bishop a5, rook b5, bishop b6, rook b5, bishop b6, rook takes e5. Okay, I think this works. Now he has other moves. Maybe he'll play c5. He probably should. Although c5 isn't exactly that great. I could just take. He's still down in exchange. It should be winning for white at the end of the day. He doesn't want to exchange pieces. Down in exchange. Can't afford it. c5, bishop takes d4. C takes d4, rook c1. That looks winning for white. Bishop takes b2, rook b1, bishop, maybe bishop a3? Uh-oh. I didn't really analyze bishop a3. That's the best move. And now it's rook b7, I guess. We're on 2 pawns. We're going to be up the exchange with a technically winning position. But Gleitson should avoid exchanges in general. Exchanges of pieces. I always put the speaker next to my ear. Okay, now this A pawn is a huge pawn. A bishop takes a7. It's actually a strong move. Because I'll have... Well, is it though? Is it though? I'm actually not that sure now. Bishop takes a7, king g7, bishop b6. It's getting a little bit too weird for me. Alright. Okay, this was a mouse slip. Sorry about that. I appreciate the take back. Actually, I meant to move my rook finally. Ironically. I thought about bishop takes a7 forever. One of the benefits of playing this casual games, we can hustle takebacks. Gleitson is doing well here, though. You know, to get maximum counterplay, and he's starting to get on my nerves. But I want my rook behind pawn, and I want to queen this a pawn as quickly as possible. e4, threatening the proverbial bishop e5. Bishop d4. Man, he's cagey. He had bishop e5 in mind. Actually, this is not that simple, but my bishop's now on a really strong diagonal. He can't move his rook. That's kind of a disaster. A4. Gets his pawn back. We're off to the races here. And this pawn looks... he looks tough. And then rook b7. Police escort. He's going to keep the resources coming. He didn't. Alright, you had to play c5 or c6, I guess, to stop rook b8. Alright, man. Tough fight. You had some counterplay, but I think objectively it was probably losing for black. If we look at the opening, let's set up a mating net here. If we look at the opening, I think you're going to see rook e8 is really suspicious. Now the question is, did I make a bad move? Because after c4, d takes c4 and castles are both played. I'm surprised there's not more games here, to be honest with you. There's only 10 master games. That's bizarre. Okay, that's just weird. One of them is a computer game. I mean, this variation isn't that unusual. Castles, knight c3. So c takes d5, now we've got all the games. Okay, c takes d5 is the main move. My knight c3 is actually very rare, but it has a good score. But it's not clear what I'm supposed to do after d takes c by black. See, this is the problem. Ivanchuk Polgar, Sebastian Computer, Sebastian Deep Feller won a game in 2011 during his computer years. Black is supposed to take on c4. So this is actually a mistake by me. I'm supposed to play c takes d here. And I just forgot because I'm not playing this line very often. So this looks to be the main line. C takes d5, knight takes d5, and then knight c3 or e4, or even e3. Okay. And unknowing that I made a mistake, he didn't take on c4. And actually, okay. We go on, knight c3, rook e8 is a very bad move. C takes d5, knight takes d5, we take, you take, and then here after knight e5, I thought that black's position is holdable. The computer even found queen b5, which I didn't see. This is a dragon idea. Dragon in English opening. I did not even see this possibility. This is a neat move because it actually keeps pressure on e2, keeps pressure on b2, probably a4, queen a6 or something like that. Queen b6, queen a6. But also possible is queen e6. I thought even queen d6 was possible. But apparently that sets up bishop f4. So you can go here. But the rook at e8 is misplaced. Alright guys, we have time for like 2 more games. At least 1 more. Actually, maybe just 1 more. I'm getting a little bit excited. Yeah, I mean, well, Sebastian Feller is a convicted... He's a convicted computer grandmaster who was banned from chess, you know. I think he's back. I mean, I don't follow the guy, but I think I saw he was back playing chess again. I mean, I don't know how anybody honestly could resume playing after that. All right, knight to c3, d6. We get this a lot. Actually, this game we had the same opponent. He's repeating our earlier game from our simul. Yeah, now, a long time ago, I analyzed knight takes f2. But I think at last check, that might have been slightly bad for black. The last time I checked that with the computer. Maybe knight takes f2 had some problem. And I don't remember offhand. This whole variation might be slightly inferior for black. I'm not sure what the final analysis is. Pilav yogurt. I've been unable to even get an advantage against this guy in 3 games. So he seems to know everything. This is easy to play. We had the same game on Sunday. He's repeating that line but improving it. He realized his error from the first game and now improved on it. White has a slightly better endgame here. I really need to develop my pieces. I would assume e6. But and then again, I'm not so sure. Maybe not e6. Maybe we should hold off on that. Rook c8 looks interesting. Developing a piece. But I mean, you know, I have no sympathy for guys who just ruin, you know, the game of chess by cheating with computers. Especially a grandmaster of all things. It's just like, I can kind of identify with a beginner, you know, cheating because they don't have respect for the game, they don't know better. But for an international grandmaster to routinely cheat on a regular basis, there's something like really sick and perverse about that. Okay, knight e5, f4, knight c4, I guess. Look how fast this guy is playing and how well. I always say that people play like grandmasters, and then Troll on a Roll was saying that I always say everybody plays like a GM. So I decided to change it. I'm going to say like, this guy's playing like a FIDE master. You know, he's definitely playing like a solid FIDE master. He's not a 2000. He's playing like a FIDE master. We're going to mix it up and sometimes call people like FIDE masters, candidate masters, national masters. I'm not going to say they always play like a GM. I've done too much of that lately. Here, do we have any counterplay? We have knight e3. Excuse me. Getting ahead of myself. Sometimes we make Freudian slips with the mouth. But knight takes b2 is a nasty threat. And actually, knight to e3, which I gave away there, I telegraphed my intention with the Freudian mouth slip, knight e3. He quickly finds a defense, rook f3. Quickly. Not an easy thing to do, you know. Like, he's used no time. He's 2000 classical, 1900 blitz. Now knight takes b2 is like good for white. Knight takes b2, rook b1, knight c4, rook takes b7 check, rook c7, and rook b8 with a slight advantage to white. So I don't really know what to recommend here. I could sack a pawn with like h6 and g5. So I was thinking g5, but I don't really want to lose a pawn for nothing. Rook g8 is interesting. I'm a little concerned about like white playing, I guess white playing e5 now. So g5, pawn takes pawn. Looks kind of dangerous for black. That's seriously losing a pawn. I'm a little scared, you know, my king out there on d7, setting up all these e5 tactics. I'm gonna get my king back to reality. White is better here. He's also used almost no time for the whole game. This guy has a strong 2000. He's undefeated. He beat me in the simul, drew in the blitz game. Played fantastically in that game too. But his simul win actually wasn't that convincing. I misplayed it. I had a good game, but I made a terrible blunder. But I think he's better than his rating. I don't know, 2057 maybe. One thing we haven't had is a lot of high-rated opponents. Usually my European stream, I have a lot of regulars who are like 2,000, 2,200, 2,300. And we're kind of missing those guys, giving me really, really tough games. Actually, Clash Kid, who we played early on, is a pretty strong player. Yeah, b3. And now, it's kind of a tough call between b6 and a5. They're both not great squares. The nice thing about a5, though, is that it gets back to a really good central location near you. It's like a temporary problem. I mean, this dude seems like a very strong player, though. Can he be beaten? In a third attempt. Yesterday I drew. I almost had him there too, but he slipped away. And it's unclear if we'll have time for one more game, guys. Knight b5. Okay, I don't think knight b5 is a great move. It feels like it kind of releases the tension a little bit prematurely. I mean, maybe he didn't have anything here, but I don't know what his idea is with knight b5. He's got to watch my rook. I guess he wants to play like c4, Marazzi style, but now what's he going to do? Could knight b5 be a serious mistake? I have threats of knight b4, and now he finds this, coming to c4. So it's like really resilient. You know, every time I think I have this guy, he finds a way out of it. Every time it just seems like he finds a resource. Just when it looks like you got him, he gets away. Knight b4. It looks like a double threat, but it's like winning for white, probably. Some sort of trapping my knight on a2 or something. I don't even know if I have a threat there. Knight b4, knight c4 too. I mean, I'm not sure. Knight b4, c3. Knight takes a2. Rook a1, or rook d2. And then knight takes c3. Rook c2. It's hasta la vista, baby. Knight b4. I mean, I'm not even threatening really anything. It looks ridiculous. I think I actually have to play b5 or something. I could play e6, but then knight c4 is strong for white. I'm about to lose on time. 3 minutes ahead of me. I feel like I'm playing a stronger player, actually. Alright. I'm barely hanging on. Just about lost now. Yeah, that's another good move. I can just about resign against this guy now. I mean, dude, you're pretty strong, Pilav Yogurt. I don't know if I'll ever be able to beat you, honestly. The way you're playing. Looks like I'm just getting dragged around here. But I didn't really see. Maybe knight d8 would have been a better move. But I already lost. I lost the initiative. He's just way too strong, way too fast. I'm probably going to lose. I hate to end the stream on this game. There's no move. It's like Zugzwang. A little too strong for me, Pilav Yogurt. Alright, let's go on to one more game with Trouts here. I'm not sure we're ever going to have a chance against Pilav. He seems good. Knight f3, c4. Definitely feel like I was playing a stronger player there. Although he doesn't seem to know the... Actually, he knew the opening too. The first game, he didn't really know the opening well. Why wasn't knight before any good? It was better than what I did, obviously. But there were problems, man. I mean, I have no development. I mean, I'm going to go grabbing pawns on the queen side. I can't even move my king bishop. It doesn't have a square. It's on f8, and I have no moves for that piece. If I'm going grabbing pawns on the queen side and my other pieces can't move, I mean, I'm going to get in trouble. It's probably a matter of like the knight getting trapped on c3 or something like that. All right, I don't like this for black. Trouts, if you're going to play this line, I play it with without bishop g7. But if you're going to play this move order, you have to play d6 here. This is actually a variation that I was thinking of playing myself in my very last tournament. Fischer played it against Korchnoi. d5, knight e5, knight d2, and f5. That's just one of many variations. Another possibility is d6, d5, knight a5, which is really funky. I have a friend who plays that. And it's not to say that that's even the best move for white. Actually, if you do play the best move, d6, it's not clear what white's best move is. He can play bishop e2, h3, maybe just waiting, so not necessarily it's even clear that d5 is the best move. I had prepared this variation for this Ikeda guy who made a Grandmaster norm in my last tournament, but he ended up like just playing something I didn't expect at all, like d4 on move 1 or something. So here, yeah, h3 stopping bishop g4. These kind of structures are basically better for white because at some point I can play d5. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a real good chance against Pilav Yogurt. The way he played that game, I don't feel bad about losing that. I mean, the guy, he just played like perfectly. I didn't play very well, I guess, but I think the whole variation is probably not great for black. That's a kind of confirmation of something I suspected. I think I have to play h6 and g5 instead of queen b6. And this game with Pilav Yogurt, it sort of confirms. I played some title players like IMs who didn't play as well as him, and they managed to just like draw with white. But I think objectively, after queen b6, white has a pretty serious advantage, and I think I shouldn't repeat that. I probably give up playing queen b6 in that line because it's just not really quite good enough for black. What's that? Yeah. No, I mean, the guy played ridiculously well for his rating. For a master, that would be a kind of standard performance. But for someone who's rated like 2000, usually people aren't that consistent. This is a very good move by Trouts here, knight h6. Actually, I take it back. It's not, okay, it's not that clearly good. I can play d5. He can't take back with the pawn, I mean the bishop, because of bishop takes h6. This was a good idea, but I don't know. What's going on after knight e5? Knight takes e5. He'll have to take back with the pawn. Maybe that's not so bad, actually. Or he can go back knight b8. Okay, knight h6 is not... It's playable. It's not clearly bad. It's a creative idea. I like the idea of not, you know, not blocking the bishop on g7. Guys, this is my last game for today. Rook a7 was my blunder. I mean, knight a7 was my blunder. My position, rook a7. You mean knight a7? Man, I think I was already going south there, man, in that game. Way before that. Way before that. I mean, yeah, okay, I was like technically lost. Maybe at some moment toward the end, but it was a bad position for a while. Once he got the open c file. I think the b5 was a really bad move. Although, yeah, that position I thought forever on knight b4, probably better. Still, I don't know. Maybe I could have played e6 or something like that. Trouts, all right, I don't know what to do here, man. I kind of like what you're doing here. It makes some sense. Whew, I don't know. I'm even questioning if I should have played d5 after all. I don't know. Maybe this was a mistake. Guys, I want to thank everyone in advance who subscribed to the channel. We've got a couple of subscribers today. Also, please support the channel via PayPal if you can. This is going to be an interesting game. Actually, Trouts, I like it. I like it, knight h6. I probably should have tried to handle it in a different way. Maybe this was just weak, you know, like d5, knight takes e5. Now it's just imbalanced position. I don't think it's clearly better for white necessarily. We have pawn imbalance. In order to corral his knight, I can play g4. That looks really insane. And probably like over the top. Maybe not good. And other moves don't look that convincing either. So it looks like he got away with something here. I kind of think that black has achieved a good position out of a dubious line, which is saying something. Have you got any funny chess stories? Knight a7 was my blunder, but I think, Brundle, I was already in a bad position. I mean, it's all relative. A bad position is all relative, you know. To me, like, minus 0.7 is a really bad position. I think it was already, like, very unpleasant before I made the terrible knight a7 move. What was my alternative? Like, knight d8? I mean, I think I'm just getting crushed no matter what I do there at that point. It's going to take him longer to execute me, but it's like if he's a strong player as he played in that game, I mean, my chances are very, very slim. Alright, looks like bishop d2. Not an exciting move, but bishop e3 just walks into knight f5. So, we don't want that. We don't want him to get a tempo on my bishop. This way I can play like rook c1. The position is kind of like an Alekhine's defense or Alekhine's defense. We're going to try what I call the trash compactor here on the queen side. These pawns and this whole formation should be shoved up and maybe, you know, create like a serious spatial advantage. To create a serious spatial advantage. But I'm not sure it's enough here. You can play like a5, I'll play a3. He has his competing pawn majority on the king's side, which it's a little like the Dutch defense. What is going on now? e6, he pulls the trigger on that move. I thought, well, I've got stuff with bishop g5, but actually It's not so convincing, bishop g5. It doesn't really do anything. He just plays f6. It's actually not that bad for black. So I think I have to just develop my pieces, but queen b3 is not good because of knight f5. We have an issue here, where to put my queen. This is a problem. What else to do? Rook e1. Like a neutral move that... It's just a neutral move that doesn't really do anything, but better than nothing with the time ticking here. His knight a3 was total computer play. Come on, played fast, one of the strategic... No, maybe he didn't have a lot of choices, dude. Any other move lost a pawn, you know? I mean, if you think about it. I don't think that it's necessarily a total computer move. If he plays knight c3, he's just like losing. He's going back to where he was. If he plays knight d4, I'm trading knights taking on c2. I mean, I'm not sure. It was... Knight a3 may have been like the only move, dude. I mean, it's think about it a little bit. I'm not so sure. I don't like to I don't like to rush into conclusions about things. Maybe knight a3 was just a really easy move to find. But can you just never make mistakes? You know, that's the thing for me. That's more convincing than like a single move. I'm not going to suspect people necessarily based on a single move, unless it's some extravagant tactic. What I see, what's suspicious for me when I play with people is that they never make mistakes. If over a long period of games, like 10 games, the player never makes like a dubious move or a question mark, that's really like, it's just like people don't do that, you know. Even master level players don't play 10 games without like a serious blunder. If I see that, then usually red flags go off. But like one move, I mean, knight a3, it's maybe almost forced. Bishop f1, and I like the way that Trouts is playing this. He's got counterplay. I can't play c5. His knight is supported. f4 doesn't do anything. My queen has no good squares. I'm sort of frozen. What to suggest here for white? g3 is weakening. I'm running out of good moves. It's funny. What can we do here? I literally feel kind of frozen. You know, bishop g5 actually probably was something I should have considered. Forcing him to weaken himself. It's really weird. Like bishop g5, okay, f6, and then I go back to where? Like e3 or something? Then he goes back, then I play bishop g5, or if he plays f5, I play bishop g5 again. Maybe I should have played bishop g5 the first time, you know? I don't see any tactics here. He's played a tight game. I don't think that I'm better. He has some technical problems. I mean, look at his queen side. It looks pretty weird. He can't move his bishop. He can't move his rook, practically. It's a little awkward, but still, like, what can I do? Bishop e3, threatening to win a pawn. Then he goes f5, then I go back to g5, and it's... Like, I got him to weaken his king side very slightly, but... Probably bishop g5, perhaps something like queen d2. Okay, this I didn't really think enough about. Knight f5. I could play c5 here, which is really complicated. Look at this queen. It's got a good square on f7. c5, he can take my bishop. I take with the pawn. He takes on d5. I take with the knight. He plays queen f7. I play bishop c4. He plays bishop e6. He's like, he's got everything. f5, I mean e4. I feel like I'm better off just playing bishop back to d2 here. Not committing. But just I don't feel like I have an advantage. I think it's equal. This opening was a slight fail for me. Constant Change, what's up? Bishop d7. Guys, this is the last game. I've got to end the stream after this. So we have c5. But still, c5, pawn takes pawn, knight takes. I've got nothing convincing. Damn. There's just no clear way for white to break through this. My bishop is a little passive on f1. I mean, but it was out of the way. It's like no place to move my queen on the whole board. Check that out. There's literally like no place for my queen. Maybe queen here, queen here, queen here. Pretty strange plan. Queen g4. Queen g4 is really weird. I'm running out of time. Okay. Alright, let's just do something. I don't know. This looks really bad. This is a stupid move, but I was hoping I'd have something. Hope chess. Can I play g4? Man, this is a bad move. I've never played this guy before. I just realized. I thought it was someone I had played before. But I've actually never played a game with Trouts. I don't like to play provisional games, but he does have over 100 games. Provisional accounts. Constant change. Yeah, this is new time for stream. I'm in the US, and I'm streaming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm also doing Sunday Simul at 5 p.m. I'll be back Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. Guys, I'm a little bit concerned about the situation at hand here. We've got to be very, very careful. I mean, I'm on the verge of resigning. Oh man, my mouse just malfunctioned. I'm also having hallucinations about how many times my pieces are protected here. Excellent game by Trouts. I'm just getting dominated. Now maybe I can get out of it, but I think he was close to clearly almost winning there. He's also got knight h4 nastiness set up. But he sort of squandered his... Yeah, he squandered his advantage. Oh my god. I just dropped my queen. Alright, man. Good ending to the stream today. We dropped our queen. Good game, Trouts. You put a lot of pressure on me. Let's check out this game. I think he played excellently. But I was out of the woods there for one moment. One moment out of the woods. Bishop takes e6, and I was okay. I plundered my queen. Good job, me. Thank you guys for watching today and watching me drop my queen. The computer actually thought I was better here. That's crazy. I thought I was worse. And the engine says I'm still okay. So I was never worse till I dropped my queen on the final move. This is optimistic, bishop e3. Anyway, guys, I'm late for something else. I was supposed to start something, so we will have to take off. I want to just thank everybody for joining and for subscribing. A little flustered here. Dropped the queen last move. What can I do? Good game, Trouts. Actually, he played really well. 0 inaccuracy, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders, and then I dropped my queen. But I was never worse. Look at the graph, like the whole way. It says I made some mistakes. Obviously, dropping your queen increases your centipawn loss. But Trouts played really well. Didn't make any mistakes, and I dropped my queen. I will see you guys on Friday with my next stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Time here on Twitch and lichess. Thanks for bearing with me. We'll be back then on Friday. Again, thanks to Blue Crow and for Jeroen for being here. Thanks to you guys who subscribed, and it was fun. So we'll be back Friday with another Classical and Blitz stream, and Sunday, 5 p.m. with a simul for 25 players. Sorry about dropping my queen there, guys. Kind of a buzzkill on the last game, but what can I do? We were down to like a few seconds, and I just hallucinated. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.